Okay, hello and good evening to the community, to staff, fellow board members. I call this public meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors to order on Thursday, May 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Welcome. I would like to remind our community that the purpose of our board meetings is to conduct the business of the district first and for everyone to learn about the district in a safe and productive manner. So we are going to start by opening with community comments, and I am going to read a little bit more about community comments and some of the things that are outlined in our policy. So, community comments are an opportunity for our community to share their ideas and opinions with the board. Input is welcome and valued. It is our duty to keep it safe and respectful for everyone, including our students, staff, and our community. This is not a time for discussion or debate, and letters to the board are always welcome, and each of us reads the input. Requests for information should be requested as outlined in policy KBA-AR. Any individual desiring to speak will have indicated their desire prior to the board meeting. An individual with a disability will be given an opportunity to participate in board meetings. This may include someone speaking on their behalf if their disability or other medical need limits their ability to attend in person. Board policy also speaks to accommodations available. A speaker will be required to give their name, city of residence, and the group, if any, that is represented. If there are more patrons desiring to present comments than time allotted, the board chair has the authority to reduce the presentation time for individual speakers or institute a prioritization process with first priority to students and city of residence. Speakers may offer objective criticisms of district operations and programs that are of concern to them. The board is restricted from hearing and will not consider complaints regarding any individual staff member or any person connected with the district. And comments that make a staff member identifiable to the public, even without their specific name, violate the policy. As an organization centered around youth and their positive development, all speakers will model respectful public comment and be mindful of civil discourse. And so now I would like to welcome our community member who has signed up to please come up. And their name is Chenoa Landry. I hope I'm saying their name right. Chenoa, if you're here, hi, welcome. Hi, you should know. Oh, okay. Okay. So there'll be two folks testifying, or just one? Just one is signed up. So I just wanted to clarify. Yes. So yes. Yes. Yeah, normally, yeah, we have folks sign up before the board meeting, but yes, that's fine. We'll make an exception today to have someone else join, and each person will have up to 3 minutes. So there'll be a timer. Okay, so welcome again, and so for the record, please state your name, city of residence, group, and the clock will start.
Thank you. I am Amber Bostrom. I am a resident of Milwaukee. I have two students in the North Clackamas.
I'm so sorry, Amber. Can you, yes, it's hard for folks who are streaming in to hear.
Oh, is this better?
And then you can move it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Like that? Okay.
Great.
My name is Amber Bostrom. I am a member of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz. I am a member, resident in Milwaukee. I have two students, Native students in the North Clackamas School District. And I'm here representing the Title VI parents, community, and students. Title VI is Native American education. We are here this evening because it has been brought to our attention that Cheryl Shane will no longer be our student and community engagement specialist. Her position has been terminated. Cheryl has spent the last 4 years in this role working with our families, students, and community. The program has grown exponentially under Cheryl's watch. She has built many valuable and meaningful relationships with other Title VI programs across the Pacific Northwest. She has also partnered with Native artists, educators, and mentors to provide and share with our students. We believe that the Title VI program should be facilitated by a Native American. We feel that our program is growing and is strong because it is grown with cultural roots. It is invaluable for our students to have a Native advocate. We currently have our highest enrollment numbers for the program, and we feel that this is now in jeopardy. I would like to share Cheryl's farewell letter with you because it reflects her feelings and our feelings about what we have built. Yes.
So according to our policy, right, we can't share individual district names and yeah, so
Oh, okay.
that would not be okay for
Okay.
community comments.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Should I just go ahead and start?
And we'll restart the clock. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Shanoa Landry. I'm a member of the Puyallup tribe. I have currently I have one student at Adrian Nelson High School in North Clackamas District, and this was also brought to my attention, and some of the parents met, and we understand the need. As our community has some of the highest dropout rates in the state. We also have, according to one study, it said that only 37% of our students graduate on time. And so we want to make sure that we have this Indian education program with a Native program. This is not DEI work. This is part of a federal responsibility to individuals who enrolled in federally recognized tribes. As Amber mentioned, this funding came about as a result of of someone reaching out and making sure that there were students who are eligible for the program, and we want to make sure that, and next year we should have some funding available as well, and we want to make sure that program is run by someone from our community. And the current staff person right now has been doing an amazing job growing from, I think there were 60 students in the past, and this year there's 137 students. And it's really important that because she's also helped students reclaim their tribal languages for school credit. She's helped she's applied for grants. She's forming partnerships and connecting with other Native programs across the state. And so with when the parents met a few weeks ago, we were asking the district to do more than just acknowledge the land, and we're asking for meaningful action. So we're asking to hire a full-time Indian education administrator with benefits, office space, long-term support. And if the current person does not accept the role, we're asking that the Native community be involved in the hiring. We're asking that they provide support staff for this individual to help with opportunities for outreach. And we're asking for the creation of a Native student union and a space where our youth can engage in culturally relevant education, well-being support, academic services, language preservation, and other culturally specific activities. And if these needs aren't met, then we feel that the acknowledgements and statements of equity risk being performative, and this representation matters, and Native students deserve to see themselves reflected in their education and supported by people who understand our identities. And so thank you for your time, and let's move from acknowledgement to action. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both. And I also see other community members for being here this evening. I know it takes a lot of strength and bravery sometimes to come to these board meetings, but I just want to say thank you for being here and offering your feedback. And we will have a discussion with our superintendent after this to see what's going on with the full picture. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and now we will continue our board meeting with the native land acknowledgement, and Vice Chair Benaloga will lead the acknowledgement this evening.
We acknowledge the land on which we sit and which we call the North Clackamas School District rests on the traditional and indigenous lands and village sites of the native peoples of the Kalapuya, Chinook, Malala, and the Clackamas. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the ability to learn, work, and be a community on this land. And we offer thanks to the original caretakers of this region. We recognize the historic policies of colonization, genocide, relocation, and assimilation that affected Indigenous and Native families, both past and present, and that will affect those in the future. And we honor the resilience and revitalization of our Indigenous and Native communities. We pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, who have been the stewards of this land throughout the generations.
Thank you. And now Director Wachter will lead the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Okay, we are going to move on to the May 8th, 2025 minutes. So board, in your board packet, you will find the minutes of the May 8th, 2025 meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Chair Wei, I move to approve the minutes of the May 8th, 2025 meeting.
Is there a second?
Wachter, second.
Okay, it's been properly moved by Director Bauer and seconded by Director Wachter. Is there a discussion? Okay, seeing none, I call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those that oppose, please say no. Okay, and the motion passes unanimously with a vote of 5-0. Next, in the board packet, you will find the consent agenda for this evening's meeting. And the items in the consent agenda are employment changes, a care, community after school relationship enrichment program update and fees, the health adoption for grades K through 12th, and then 2 charter school contracts. So charter school contract for Clackamas Middle College and the charter school contract for the Clackamas Web Academy. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? And please read all of the items that are included.
Chair Wei, I move, oh my God, what are we doing again? Approval. I move approval of the consent agenda, including employment changes, care, community after-school relationship enrichment program update and fees, health adoption grades K-12, charter contract Clackamas Middle College, and charter contract Clackamas Web Academy.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Benaloga, second.
Is there a discussion? Okay, it's been properly moved by Director Dobson and seconded by Director Benaloga, and I now call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, all those that oppose, please say no. And the motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, board. Moving on, we have a proclamation for this evening, and this is the Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer, LGBTQ plus Pride Month proclamation. And Director Wachter will begin reading the proclamation.
Whereas North Clackamas Schools shares in the belief that diversity is our greatest strength, and our lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus, LGBTQ plus students and staff have the same rights guaranteed to their peers. And
whereas each year, the month of June honors the 1969 Stonewall riots in Manhattan, and the National Education Association has included LGBTQ plus Pride Month in its list of commemorative months since 1995. And
Whereas we believe, like Jason Collins, the first openly gay major American sports athlete, who said, "Openness may not completely disarm prejudice, but it's a good place to start." And
Whereas LGBTQ plus youth are almost 5 times as likely to have attempted suicide compared to straight cisgender youth, and each episode of LGBTQ plus victimization, such as physical or verbal harassment or abuse, increases the likelihood of self-harming behavior by 2.5 times on average.
And whereas a national study found that 40% of transgender adults reported having made a suicide attempt with 92% of those individuals reported having attempted suicide before the age of 25. And
whereas having a gender sexuality alliance reduces a child's risk of attempting suicide by 50%, and students at schools with gender sexuality alliances experience less bullying around gender nonconformity. And
Whereas students have the right to form gender sexuality alliance clubs where other non-curricular clubs exist, and our community is better because of the diversity of our population. And
Whereas inclusion is a core value of our district, and the school board is committed to helping end the crisis of suicide in our community by creating a safe and welcoming school district for all students.
is there a motion to approve the proclamation?
Chair Way, I move to adopt the proclamation recognizing June 2025 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ+ Pride Month in North Clackamas School District.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Bauer, second.
Thank you. And for discussion, Director Dobson will provide some additional comments on this proclamation.
thank you, Chairway, and thank you, colleagues. I'm grateful for this resolution declaring June as Pride Month in our district. Our job is to support our students, and that's why we're all here. And our students do their best when they know that their school is a place where they are safe and accepted. This proclamation isn't just empty words. It's a statement of our values, that North Clackamas schools take pride in our diversity, that we celebrate people for who they are, and that we care about students' well-being. There are a lot of kids who need to hear that message right now. This resolution includes some statistics about the mental health crisis facing our youth and LGBTQIA and Two-Spirit youth especially, but we all see and feel it, and it's startling. And for a young person who is struggling, who's navigating all the complicated and confusing questions that are a part of growing up and perhaps feeling quite alone, it really matters what we say. It matters that they can look to those of us privileged to serve in positions of leadership for this community, and that they see their identity validated, that they can have confidence in the administration of their schools to support and accept them. Because even today, for some students, school might be the place where they feel most comfortable being themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And is there further discussion? Well said, Director Dobson. Thank you. And the motion's been properly moved by Director Benaloga and seconded by Director Bauer. So I now call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All that oppose, please say no. Okay, and the motion passes unanimously with a vote of 5-0. Now, therefore, the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors proclaims June 2025 to be LGBTQ+ Pride Month and encourages our community to join us in celebrating the diverse gender identity and sexual orientation that exists among our students, staff, and community. Adopted on this 22nd day of May 2025. Great. Thank you, Board. For our next agenda item, moving along, we have our 2025-2026 middle school and high school student fee schedules discussion. And I would like to welcome our Executive Director of Secondary Programs, Petra Callan.
Good evening, directors. I know you've been waiting for this one. School fees comes around every spring. And I don't have a great deal to share with you. We are proposing to not do a whole lot of anything for next year. We're going to maintain the general fee structure that we have now. There's a few things that we're looking to shift. For example, deleting obsolete fees, deleting the technology insurance program, updating Sabin-Schellenberg course names, and I'll give you some examples of that in the next slides. So under the middle school fee schedule, there were things like intramurals. We don't have intramurals, so we're not going to ask for a fee for that. Also for PE uniforms, which we no longer require students to have. So some of those things have just simply been removed. High school fees, we didn't make any changes except for the technology insurance program, deleting that. And there were several course names that were not accurate anymore, so we just cleaned that up a little bit. One thing I do want to mention, because this question often comes up, and when anybody's really looking at this, under the cosmetology program, why would one semester have a different cost than another semester? The second semester starts using the mannequins, and they are not inexpensive, and they are actually getting more and more expensive because they are not manufactured here. You can probably guess where they're manufactured and why the increase in cost. So that helps to explain that a little bit. Moving forward, however, we have really realized that we need to look at making some changes. Our fee structure is quite outdated. We haven't done anything with it in many years. I even hate bringing up the pandemic, but once that hit, we really wanted to make sure that we were not increasing any kind of cost for families, and we maintained that. But as a result, we also have not really made any shifts that make sense with changes in our programming and changes in our practices and where we get funds from in order to have resources for classrooms. So but we also want to make sure that we limit what we're asking for from families. So as a result of that, we are going to convene a work group in order to review and redesign both the fee structure and what we ask for in deposits. So there are some things we've asked for deposits on for a long time, such as textbook deposits that aren't necessarily the best way to consider the cost of textbooks. So we are planning on really looking at all those things and putting something together that makes a lot more sense for families as well as supports programming in schools. And that's it. What kind of questions can I answer?
So many. No, I don't know. Yes, Director Bauer.
Thank you, Chair Way. I just had a couple. So who will be in the work group?
Generally, I haven't put it together yet, so I can't get too detailed. But for example, one of the first people that raised their hands was the principal at Saban Schallenberg, because on the high school form, there's a lot of his programming. So he's like, so we're going to have administrators from the schools that really have a good sense of what their teachers need in these courses, because they're the ones that are getting the requests all the time about I need, we don't have enough budget for the clay or whatever it might happen to be. So we're going to pull people from the schools, and also it'd be really, I think, beneficial to have some folks from business services to help us out, because it's their bookkeepers that are dealing with the fees. And so it needs to be a collaborative effort.
Do you think you will have some students or parents involved, possibly?
I think that would really make sense as maybe a review. It's really difficult to, I think, construct a first draft. But I can completely see that a review process would be really helpful with a broader scope.
Yeah, perhaps the youth equity committee. Yeah, okay, thank you. And then deleting the tech insurance, did that just not work? Or I can't remember. We had a discussion about it probably last year.
Yeah, and I
We had a
don't
long
have,
discussion.
the right folks with me from the department here to get into details, but what I understand is that it was really hard to collect. I know in talking with the schools, there were not a lot of, we weren't getting a lot of collection. And it looks like Teresa She knows all the things.
Phone to
I mean,
friend.
I don't. Let's couch that. I definitely don't. But I will give the detail that we came to the understanding that when we created the insurance system, we actually hadn't had a baseline of how the costs were going to be to do the repairs, and so it just wasn't aligned with what the actual costs were. So in the middle of the school year, we did that evaluation with the technology department and came to the understanding that the insurance program wasn't going to be aligned with the actual cost. So we'd rather think about using our general funds to think about our repairs in a more efficient and effective way.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Vice Chair Benaluga?
So I do have a question about the repairs because I was at the ESD budget. Sorry, I was at the ESD budget meeting last night. They are not, from what I understand, they're not going to be repairing much anymore, correct?
So the good thing about that is that we actually brought all of our repairs in-house this year.
Okay.
So we have an FTE that is dedicated to our repair space. We have a repair space in our technology department. And we also have a space over in Sabin-Schellenberg. And long-term, we're looking to partner with that administration to think about supporting and students learning how to repair as well. So we do not use their repair program.
Okay, all right, excellent. Thank you. That's a great clarification. And I understand, I'm the one that asked about the cosmetology fee, just because curious why one semester was 15, but if you do 2 semesters, it was more than double. But I understand. I mean, I had one of those mannequin heads when I was a kid, and I actually think I did cut her hair. So I'm sure she needed to be replaced after I got a hold of it. So I totally understand the mannequin heads. I get it. And I just want to mention that I really appreciate just the thought, how careful we are being, and that we understand the financial impact to our families, and that $95 in registration fees for one child in a family can be really, really expensive. So I'm just so thankful that we're really taking the time to ask ourselves what's important, what do we need to charge for, because it is important. The supplies are not free, I understand that, but I just really appreciate the time and the care that's being taken. And I appreciate Director Bauer's suggestion that during that review process, if we do have some parent and student collaborating on that towards the end, I think that would be really important. So I want to thank you for your work.
Totally agree. Thank you. And I think it's just important to note that families that are not able to pay this fee, we do not require it. So that's also important.
Thank you. Thank you. And great questions, board. Okay, we are going to move on to, I think this is our last agenda item for this evening, and it is a discussion/action item. And this is on the wireless communications system. So I welcome our Chief of Operations, Teresa Neff Webster, who will introduce our guest.
Good evening, directors. Thank you for having us. I am joined by David Cruz, our Director of Safety, Security, and Risk Management. And we are here to discuss the wireless communications system for the school district. Specifically, we're here to recommend awarding the wireless communications system contract to Visera Communications for a sum not to exceed $1,840,000. And we'll be going through a presentation to talk through the Visera system itself, our process to date, and our goal with the system in general. So I will begin us thinking about, ooh, wow, I just went right to questions. Donna. There we go. I figured it out all by myself. Okay, so thinking about our strategic points, we are really lasering in on our resources strategic point tonight, and specifically within our resources and services strategic point, that second bullet point around building clear systems and methods for communications is where we started the conversation, knowing that we are not in the best space when it comes to how our staff can communicate with each other when they're outside of their classrooms, they're in the hallways, they might be in spaces where they're not close to their wall phones. So how do we as a district support them in that work? Additionally, we have a mandate that we want to make sure that we have our eyes on. So currently, HB 3083 is in the state Senate, and HB 3083, otherwise known as Alyssa's Law, which is known by Alyssa Aldahorf, a 14-year-old victim of the 2017 school shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. And this law it would be around communications and response time in emergencies in our schools. It passed the state house unanimously in March and is currently sitting in the Senate and under consideration. And what this law would do would mandate that school districts consider using wireless, wearable emergency communication devices for staff. Additionally, this system would allow us to have improved communications on a day-to-day operations space for our staff, which David will go into in a little while. We really are thinking about this strategically. And our goal, sorry, I have a little bit of a cough. Our goal is to have our pilot program start in fall of 2026, and then we would roll out 6 pilot schools for the next school year, and then we would roll the entire district into the system in the 26-27 school year. So that would mean by summer of 2027, all of our buildings would be online with this system. And so I'll pass it over to David to talk more about the actual system.
So utilizing the Vocera system will allow our staff to communicate with individuals or groups beyond what we would see with either a pure just simple panic button or our traditional walkie-talkies. It's, as Teresa indicated, a wearable smart badge, or as you see in the picture on the slide, the larger item is a smart badge and the other is one of what they refer to as a sync badge. They provide the ability to wirelessly communicate, just like many of us do already with our smartphones. But it's through this system, a secure system, and it's encrypted. It also allows for secure messaging, notifications, and of course, has a panic button component to it. One of the nice things when we talk about the ability to talk to individuals or groups, it allows the employee to reach out or contact an individual either by their name or their title. We would set that up in the system. So for instance, if we had a substitute in a classroom that may not immediately know the principal's name but need to reach the principal or somebody at the front desk, they could reach that person by title. Additionally, it would allow, because it runs off of our wireless network, communications from building to building, including, for instance, if Dr. James decided she wanted to broadcast to the entire district, she would have that capability to do that at that point in time. So before we go much further, I'm going to just share with you a quick video that gives you a demonstration of what the Vocera system may look like in our school.
All right, sweetie, do you have everything?
Yep.
Okay, have a great...
Every school should be a secure and safe place where teachers and students can thrive. Effective communication is essential. That's why schools need Stryker's all-in-one communication and security solution, featuring the Vocera Smart Badge. Designed for everyday communication and emergencies, the Smart Badge brings together calling, which is accessible hands-free or in handset mode, secure messaging, and notifications, and allows teachers and staff to communicate directly.
Kim Taylor from front office.
Accept call. Yes. This is Mr. Reed.
Hey, Mr. Reed. Brandon Duncan's mother's here to take him to the doctor.
I'll send him right over.
The Smart Badge can be used to broadcast to specific groups, like administrators, teachers, or staff.
Broadcast to 7th grade teachers. We're ready for the 7th grade assembly. Please bring your class to the gym.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, time for the assembly.
The Smart Badge has a built-in panic button intended for emergencies and active threats. Press it to discreetly broadcast a response group. Response group members will see the name and location of who's sending the broadcast.
A suspicious person just walked in the building in my class.
They can hear what's happening and communicate directly with that person if the situation allows it.
Classroom, lock the doors. We're initiating a lockdown and calling 911. Okay, we're all clear now.
Every school should be a secure and safe place where teachers and students can thrive.
Sweetie, how was your day?
Good, I got a medal.
What?
Effective communication is essential.
So while that video is a really high view, there's one thing that I wanted to touch on a little bit, and that's because I mentioned the idea of whether or not we have substitutes in our buildings or other individuals. One of the nice things with the Vocera product is that we would plan or set that up so that the units stay at the building at the school building, that is, every day to charge overnight. The units themselves are not assigned necessarily to a specific individual. That individual has an account, and when they get their unit in the morning, they click and activate the button, and then via their voice and their voice recognition, the unit assigns and recognizes that it's them and will work for them. So for instance, if I walked into a school where we have, let's say, a dozen of the smaller units available, I could pick up any one of those units, click on it, say, I'm David Cruz. It would ask me to verify who I am. I verify again who I am. Then that unit's live with my account. So it's nice that it has that flexibility so that if we have others that we need to set up, we can do it relatively easy, and it's not deploying units like we do, for instance, a laptop or a Chromebook. The other thing that's nice about that is then those units are often not live. We're not having to rely on somebody to necessarily log out of the unit to make sure that it's not functioning. The unit doesn't turn on and the microphone isn't activating, again, much like what you're used to with a cell phone, until you're indicating or activating it to recognize your voice and take the command. So with that, again, I mentioned briefly, there's two types of badges that we're looking at procuring for the district. Of the two badges, let's see, there we go. The smart badge that does have a 2.5-inch screen on it, LCD screen, would be for primarily our school administrators and then other additional designated personnel, such as folks involved in district safety, the folks like Dr. James, our executive team. The other badge, the smaller unit, would be for all other school staff in the school buildings. Giving full disclosure, talking about the device and its current functionality. Right now, for us, the device does have the limitation that it would be for use inside our school buildings only. It would not replace the need for walkie-talkies on the outside of our buildings, so our playgrounds, our sport fields, et cetera. That is something that we would be making a recommendation for considering expanding that capacity for future capital construction bond products so that we can expand and utilize the product outside of the schools. But initially, it would be based for the interior use of the building only.
And then in regards to the pilot program itself, in collaboration with elementary and secondary level leads, we have chosen 6 schools, 4 elementary schools and 2 middle schools as the pilot program. And this represents a cross-section across the district and also across the geography and building size. So we're looking to get across all of the geographies across our district and building sizes so that we can get a good determination of how the system works based on building size and location. And each school in the pilot will act as a test case for both the operations, how the training goes, and importantly, providing feedback, and they are going to be a part of the district communications committee, which is going to create standard operating procedures for that rollout, for the long rollout of the whole district. And in terms of our timeline, I'll back up to say that this spring, we did a request for proposals for a complete wireless communication system, including all the necessary components and connections, along with testing requirements and training. and we received 3 proposals. And of those 3 proposals, Vocera was the most aligned with the specifications outlined in our district RFP. And they also supported in what we are needing for our end-use functionality, but also our back-end network need, and they are in compliance with Alyssa's law. The other 2 proposals were not aligned with Alyssa's law and were more aligned with traditional walkie-talkies and phone systems. So we are in the middle of our procurement process right now, and we will be moving forward with the planning and creating all of the roles that David mentioned and the back end with technology for this system. And then we'll begin the pilot rollout 1 school at a time, starting fall of 2025. So we'll have the 6 schools will be online, all of them by January 2026. And then we'll use January to June for that feedback, the testing to make sure that's working correctly, standard operating procedures, so that we have a robust plan for rollout of the entire district starting fall of 2026. Again, we will do 1 school at a time, again, to ensure that the school is fully functional before moving to the next school, with the goal, as mentioned previously, of all of our buildings and staff being online by summer of 2027. And with that, we are ready for questions.
Thank you. Yes, Director Dobson.
Thank you, Chairway, and thank you both so much for the presentation. So a couple of things. One is House Bill 3083 actually passed out of the Senate yesterday and is in the governor's office awaiting her signature. And I believe there is some very small associated amount of money with this law, something around like $2,000 for every district or something. So yeah, don't everybody get too excited. So my couple of questions following that information are this. I think I remember from your presentation that you said you considered both geographic location and the size of school in your pilot program. And I'm wondering if you took into consideration like number of safety incidents as well.
That was one of the things that we did look at, yes. And the number of staff, we took many things in consideration, but that was one of them, yes.
Okay. And then the other thing that caught my attention in your presentation is that you brought up Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in association with the person for whom the law is named. I've met Alyssa's mom, and what she told me is that the reason that she is spending all of her time now traveling from state to state and encouraging adoption of this law is because of what happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School and what didn't happen. And what didn't happen is that one of the grounds personnel for the school was outside and saw the shooter with his bag of weapons and ammunition a full 10 minutes before he ever reached the doors of the school. And the reason that she feels like these alert systems are so important is because if he had had something as simple as a walkie-talkie or a panic button, he could have alerted not just the administration to lock the doors, but law enforcement as well, that this was about to happen. And my concern in your presentation is that a circumstance like what happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School would not be prevented at this point by us investing $2 million in this system, because as you stated, it doesn't work outside.
So one of the things that we are looking at short term is how can we do patches in our external spaces. Patches are not ideal from a technological perspective because it means that you have to go in on a regular basis. It's much like a hotspot when you put a patch on an outside space to have network wireless outside. And so I will couch my answer to say I fully understand the concern, and we are thinking about this short-term solution, but we also know from a long-term perspective, the way that we are really going to make this a robust system is if we invest from a capital perspective into the networking and fibers and external spaces as well. And I think that Dr. James wants to say something.
I think it's also important for you to know that we are still maintaining the walkie-talkies that we have for outside of the building for when staff is outside doing, whether it's crosswalk duty or whatever it is. Right now, the walkie-talkies are more cost, they're more expensive than what this is. And so we have less staff currently that actually have access to walkie-talkies than would have to this. And so we do plan on making sure that the walkies are staying outside until we can do what's happening there that you're talking about.
Can I follow up? So did I hear you correctly that like walkie-talkies for all is more expensive than this program for all staff and teachers?
Significantly, and don't have the panic button, and also don't always work depending on how far they get away from the school. So yes. So I think long-term, once we get the infrastructure in for this is the short term. Once we get the infrastructure, it is going to do exactly what it's intended to do. So we're on ramping.
Okay, and then just my final comment is that Alyssa's law, while it is a law, only asks that school districts consider setting these up. It does not require. And so although I care deeply about our student safety and appreciate, that we're looking at this program in both short and long terms, that everyone understands that it's not a law that requires this.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dobson, for your questions. I have what Dr. James just shared about the walkie-talkies and that cost being more expensive spurred something in me, which is, this is a fiscal ask, right, of about $1.8 million, which is a lot of money. And so I guess what would be helpful for me is to see the current wireless system that we have right now, or not even wireless, because this is like a brand new thing that we're purchasing, that we're buying. So what would be helpful to me is to see kind of a comparison of like, here's the current investment that we have right now, with walkie-talkies, with whatever systems that we're using right now to communicate in between with our schools, and then just more of a rationale as to this is the value add of the $2 million. Like, this is what it's going to take to get us to that next level of, promoting better communication, student safety, all of that. So that would be helpful for me, because I'm just trying to, in my head, really, have a strong justification for going out and securing this service, which, thank you. This is a very good presentation, and it's very detailed, and appreciate your team working on this for several months to get us to this point. But there's just a couple more details that I think would be helpful.
Chair Wei, can I just add that, yes, I think we absolutely can get that. That will be helpful. This is not just for Alyssa's law. This is also meeting the need of us talking to both of our unions, labor associations on a regular basis around staff having access and communication to one another, and also being able for them all to have access to a device. And right now, that is not the case. And so when we had conversations with our labor union about what the needs were, that was also taken into consideration, and they are very excited about the opportunity for safety-wise overall with our staff. So I just wanted to add that. That's not directed at what you specifically said, but I think that's important to know.
That's helpful. Thank you. Okay, Vice Chair Benaloga.
Thank you. And I know I had questions earlier today, so I appreciate that. I had one quick question about the training genie. Does it get smarter does it learn, you know what I mean? Does it learn more and more as you, does it improve the more you talk to it?
Yes, and that's, in fact, that's one of the big pieces is when we talk about the voice training, to be clear, it's not training me how to use the product. The voice training is training the device, the system and software to learn and recognize my voice, my speech patterns so that it's more effective when I need to use it. It recognizes me and recognizes my voice patterns assigned and associated with my account.
Okay, thank you. And then will somebody have access to who is not logged in, but in the building?
Yes, we will be able to see back end in terms of both knowing attendance as staff come in spaces, if they haven't turned on their devices. Is that your question? So that we know
If
they're
they
in the
haven't
building, but
logged
they
into
haven't-
their device, yeah.
Yes, so we'll be supporting the administrators in a way that they can see their staff that's in the building and the devices that are on. They'll be, the administrators will be able to see, and at the central office will be able to see as well.
Okay, excellent. And then are there system updates? Does it update automatically, or are there updates every year, or do we need to replace them ever so often?
There's system updates, much like your phone would have a system update that we would have to time appropriately, much like we do with our Chromebooks right now, to be honest. So there are definitely updates that would occur.
Okay. And then is this also including our charter schools?
In terms of...
Will they have them as well?
Yep.
So like CWA and all of that. And then have we thought about campuses like Seth that have a lot of outside spaces, and what is the thought with some of those campuses, Seth Llewellyn and Campbell, because we do have an elementary school or K-8 there as well.
Yep.
What are our thoughts? Because there are so much outside spaces there.
Similar to what Dr. James was saying earlier, in the short term, we would ensure that they would have the walkie-talkies. And then in the long term, with the capital construction bond process for our outside networking needs, not only for this system I'll name, we need outdoor networking for a variety of needs from a technology perspective. We will have the ability to do an analysis of what outdoor spaces we have, not only next to our buildings, but also our athletic fields, our playgrounds, our sports fields, to ensure that they have the appropriate network moving forward.
So it's not, just to clarify for the community, it isn't that Vocera doesn't work outside. It's that we do not have the wireless
That is
capability outside, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so it works, we just don't have enough Wi-Fi out there.
Correct.
Basically, which a lot of us probably don't in our backyard, you know.
Well, and I'll go a step further. With a lot of our buildings, our Wi-Fi will, for a distance, extend outside. So for instance, I'll admit there's been buildings I'll pull up in the parking lot, and if I'm early for a meeting, I can open up my computer and I might be able to get the Wi-Fi for a little bit. That said, we wouldn't want to be telling people to rely on or expect that. So, certainly with some of those campuses you're describing where they have multiple buildings that have outside spaces, but the buildings are very close to one another, most likely that adjacent space, like at Llewellyn, that Wi-Fi may extend into, for instance, their courtyard between their cafeteria and their classroom buildings. But I don't want to, until we know that, start telling staff, yes, you can expect it to work there.
Oh, okay, that's good clarification. Thank you for that, because those schools are definitely a concern. And then we also know there's maybe even going to be spaces like the wrestling room at Milwaukee High School where maybe the Wi-Fi doesn't go. So we're
thinking we're going into every space in every building.
All right, excellent. Thank you. And I have a lot of questions. Thank you, but I appreciate that.
Thank you. And board, we can also always email questions, of course, to our experts here. I'll take a couple more. Director Bauer, and then, okay. You got your finger up first. Okay, we'll go with Director Bauer and then Director
Try to make
Walker.
it quick. It's secure to hackers because it's our system, right? And we have security on that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll even go a step further. It's in our system, it's in our network. It's also an encrypted system. In fact, without going way down the rabbit hole, one of the clients or customers for this particular product is the Department of Defense. And they do meet their requirements under NIST for sensitive information. So not to be confused with the program for confidential information that has an even higher standard, but they do meet the DoD's requirements under NIST and comply with their requirements for encryption, decryption, all that fun stuff that our technology folks could tell you way more than I can.
Okay, thank you. And then the difference between the sync badge and the wearable smart badge, sounds like smart badge can do a lot more. What does the sync badge do for, and that goes to all staff? They have the panic button and what
So
else?
the primary difference is that the smart badge has the display, so it can receive essentially the equivalent of a text message.
Oh, got it.
Whereas the
Okay.
smaller unit has the panic button, has the audible, has all the abilities to place calls or contact individuals, receive announcements. It's just that the other badge has the additional function of that visual, what I'll call text equivalent.
Is there also support from the company for training, like, and how much PD will people need?
Yes, so
Older people might need more, like me.
Yes, so the company has dedicated staff members who will be coming on site to support both in the creation of the back-end system and in training supports. We also will have a dedicated FTE who will be training all of the staff and supporting staff as we roll out the system as well. And then the hope is as we have pilot schools that become experts, they can also provide expert kind of tricks, the tips and tricks to staff as they come online as well.
Okay, great. Well, safety is very important for our staff and our students. Thank you for the presentation, answering all of our questions.
Of course.
Thank you, Director Wachter.
Just a couple from me. Thanks so much, and really underscoring all of the thoughtfulness that other board members have called out around moving us progressively to more safer and safer spaces for our students and community. I really appreciate that. This is also a big ticket item. I've spent some time in my work life thinking about the equivalence of FTE to big ticket items, and so that does not lost on me tonight that this is a major ask. Probably comes from a capital fund. I wonder about the future funding of the cost of this. Is this a one-time 1.84 million, or is this thinking through the larger cycle of the full cost of this over several years? Do we have additional costs that we need to be thinking about and planning for?
So this large cost, it will allow us to have full licenses for the entire district and the systems, the actual badges for the entire district. So that is within this recommendation. We will then not have to have a large expenditure when it comes to the licenses. We will have to know as we use the devices what the replacement cost may be, but we do not, in this contract, we have put in enough funding for replacement devices within the next 3 years. So fully roll out, and we have extra for if there's replacements. And then we would have to know within the next 4 years whether we would need to do any, I would say, not annual replacements, but as devices get lost or broken, et cetera, we would have to look at that. But that's something that we've built into this cost. So we
This is
will
a
have.
3-year total cost.
Correct.
And that includes future annual licenses,
replacement, yeah,
support and
as
everything. So
needed.
this is a good 3-year.
Correct. And just to rename, the licenses are ours. We will
Okay.
not have to continually pay for the licenses. This is a one-time payment for the licenses and the separate for the actual devices, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay. I'm also very interested in the sort of the gap analysis that Chair Wei requested to sort of see current state versus the additional value add of this, because it is such a large
course.
number. Thank you.
Of course.
Yes, Director Bauer.
Well, I just wondered about the schedule. Is this something that we need to, this discussion action? Is it something we need to act on quickly?
So yes, in full transparency, it would mean that we're in contract negotiations right now, and we are looking to have the contract executed so that we could have the licenses paid for and the bulk of the devices on our site so that we would be able to pay for them within this fiscal year. and then the second installment would happen next fiscal year. So that's our timeline.
Great. Thank you. And thank you so much. And thank you for getting back to us with some additional information. Really appreciate that. And I am cognizant to thank you, Director Bauer, for asking the urgency of how quickly we need to get this. And, you know, we have 2 more board meetings before we sort of officially end. So hopefully this is something we can bring back with some more additional information. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, well, it is 7:30 on the dot. We did not time that, by the way. But it is now 7:30. We are coming toward the end of our board meeting. And just want to appreciate again, staff, community who might be here, also listening online. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Can't believe we are towards the end of May and going through the end, coming towards the beginning of June soon, in the next week or so. So I hope everyone has a great rest of your evening. It is again now 7:30, and this public meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors is